Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 12, Episode 31, overall 636 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by Chris Palme and brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. That's 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone's doing well on this cold, snowy Friday, December 19th, 2025. The last couple days here in Ontario, we've lost a lot of snow due to the rain and the mild temperatures. And today it's all frozen up and snow is back and the cold temperatures are back as well. And we're less than a week to Christmas now too, by the way. And I'm really looking forward to our show today. He's a friend of the show's. This is his second appearance on our show. First appearance was back in 2023, and we're going to bring him on right now. His name is Greg Tranter. He is a Buffalo sports historian, curator, and an author, and him and Bud Bailey just co-wrote a book called The Bills, One Bills Drive, the greatest games at Highmark Stadium from 1973 to 2025. This is the last year at the Highmark Stadium, or known as Rich Stadium, Ralph C. Wilson Stadium, as they move to their new stadium in 2026. So we're going to bring on Greg Tranter, and we're going to talk a little bit about the One Bills Drive book and how him and Bud came along putting in the 50th greatest games at Highmark Stadium. And we'll talk a little bit about the Bills' huge historical comeback win against the Patriots as well. So we're going to bring on Greg Tranter right now. Good afternoon, Greg. How are you doing?
Great, Chris. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And since you're a sports historian, you witnessed a little more sports history last Sunday at Gillette Stadium between the Bills and Patriots.
Yes, actually, it's the biggest blown lead by the Patriots at Gillette Stadium in its history. And thanks to Josh Allen and the Bills, they put it on the Patriots in the second half on Sunday.
Greg, I've noticed this in the NFL, and it seems to be like the NBA too. The bigger the leads now, you're seeing more blown leads of double digits in the NFL than ever before. Do you find a lot of teams just like get the attitude or mindset, hey, this game's over, we're up 21-0?
Yeah, I mean, you could even see it on the Patriots bench when they went up 21-0. They were celebrating like the game was over. And then I thought too that Mike Vrabel made a big mistake at the end of the first half. They played really conservatively and settled for a field goal instead of going for another touchdown. And it was like, okay, well, thanks to that, we still have a good shot to come back. And of course we did.
What was some of the turning points in that game for the Bills? Because I was watching it as well, flipping between the Eagles-Raiders game, which was a blowout for Philly. But what was some of the turning points, or one key turning point you thought that got the Bills back into that game?
Well, I think getting the touchdown before that end of the half, and as opposed to being down 21-0, I think the offense determined, okay, we can move the football on this defense. So I think that was a critical moment, certainly coming out to start the second half, getting the ball, driving down the field, and making it 24-14. And then, of course, the defense stepped up, which I was a little surprised. We really shut down their offense. I mean, if it wasn't, the only play was that Henderson run, which was really a broken play. if he doesn't run for that 62-yard touchdown, I think the Patriots had like 45 yards in the second half and 3 first downs. So the Bills defense really clamped down on him while the offense was moving up and down the field.
What adjustments did the Bills do offensively and defensively? Or was it a combination? The Bills did make some adjustments, but the Patriots played conservatively.
Yeah, no, I think a couple of things happened. I think the Bills' offense, I think they made some adjustments at halftime. They went back to the running game, and they were passing mostly on play action, which I think obviously really, really works in their favor. Defensively, they went to more of a like their defensive ends were not really going for pressure or for sacks. They were going to keep May in the pocket. And then they were playing man coverage instead of zone so that the Patriots receivers weren't getting open in the first couple seconds. And so May didn't have anybody to throw to.
How big of an impact was it having Joey Bosa back on the field for the Bills?
Oh, it's huge because, as you know, I mean, he has one of the highest pressure rates in the entire league. So, he's only got 5 sacks for this season, but he's always in the backfield, making the quarterback uncomfortable. And May was clearly uncomfortable in the second half.
Greg, what's the status of Ed Oliver? And do you find Greg Russo's play, he's regressed this year?
Yeah, I mean, on Oliver, everybody's hoping he'll be back in time for the playoffs.
Okay.
So, hopefully that's the case because they certainly could use him on the interior. Though Sanders has stepped up and played, reasonably well. And then, yeah, I think Greg Rousseau has definitely regressed this year. He definitely hasn't had many games where he's had a big impact.
What are your thoughts on the play of Cole Bishop and the rookie Hairston? How good are they?
Well, Bishop has been a huge surprise to me because last year I think he was up and down quite a bit. This year he's been really the steadiest guy at safety that they have. He's played quite well. Hairston, I think, is a typical rookie. You can see the athleticism and the ability, but he also takes bad angles at times. He gets beat in coverage at different times. But I wouldn't give up on him. I think he'll be fine once he gets a little more experience and some more playing time.
Now, the Bills don't really have a true number one receiver. What are your thoughts on the tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid?
Well, I mean, the Bills' offense is clearly different when Kincaid is healthy. He arguably is their big play receiver. They don't really have a wide receiver that's a big play guy. I think they would love Kincaid to be, Travis Kelce 4 years ago, right? And I think he has the ability to be that, but he has not been able to stay healthy. And thankfully, Dawson Knox has really stepped up the last couple of weeks, and hopefully he can continue that. And don't forget about Hawes. He's a great blocker and a good receiver, that nobody expects.
One guy I wanted to talk to you about, Greg, and I get laughed at when I say this, and it's no disrespect to Thurman Thomas, but even being an Eagles fan, I really like running backs, and I've always been a fan of running backs. And since Thurman Thomas, they've had some decent backs, Fred Jackson, LaShoy McCoy. But in terms of talent, I think James Cook is the most talented running back they've had since Thurman Thomas because he can run and he can also get you in as a pass catcher as well. And I think his blocking has improved. I think he's really evolved into a superstar. And I think Brandon Beane was smart giving him that big contract, in my opinion.
Oh, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that James Cook, the last year and a half, has really stepped up. And has really turned into one of the top probably 3 or 4 backs in the entire league. And he's only, I think 28 yards behind Taylor for the Colts for the league lead in rushing. My frustration is I don't know why the Bills continue to take him off the field on third down. I get that Ty Johnson's probably a better blocker, but put him in the slot then. I mean, he's their, most powerful offensive weapon other than Josh.
Absolutely. And I do like Davis and I like Ty Johnson as well. And I do feel, in my opinion, the Bills offense, obviously they don't have Stephon Diggs and maybe their receiving core is not the best in the league, but I feel their offense is more balanced and better than it was even a couple years ago because in the playoffs, you definitely need to be able to run the ball too. And obviously you got Josh Allen too, but he doesn't have to do it all now with James Cook and Davis and Johnson there as well as Allen. It gives them more of a dimension, more threats, options they can use.
No, I mean, and I don't disagree, Chris. I mean, think about 2 years ago, if somebody had said that in 2025, the Bills would lead the league in rushing, people would have laughed at us. And they are.
And last year, the Eagles led the league in rushing. And this year, the running game has not been effective because I think it's been a part because the offensive line has been banged up with Lane Johnson and Cam Jordans. They've had some injuries on their offensive line. And Saquon Barkley, you couldn't expect him to run for 2,000 plus yards again, too. So teams have caught on to what they're doing. But as for the Bills, I just think their offense is better, more complete with this running game they have. And Shakir's a nice receiver as well. I'm not sure how much of an impact Gabe Davis is going to have on this team, though.
No. I mean, the only thing they're missing, and maybe in the offseason, if they could just get a speed receiver that they can stretch the field, that would make this offense almost unstoppable.
How disappointing has Keon Coleman been? And can you see him being released or cut in the offseason possibly?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously been a huge disappointment. I think they'll give him another year. I mean, depending on his work ethic, if he doesn't fix his off-field issues, then he'll be gone. But if he does, I think they'll give him another year probably.
Before we get to your book, Greg, what are your thoughts on the game against Cleveland Browns? Cleveland has played Buffalo tough, both in Cleveland and Buffalo. Could this be a trap game, having that emotional big comeback win against the Patriots? And this Bills team does seem to get off to slow starts from my perspective.
Yeah, no, it is your classic trap game because, as you said, they just came off an emotional win in New England and they play the Eagles next week. So, this is the bad team between two good teams. When I get frustrated, they do start slow. I'm going to get upset on Sunday if the Bills win the toss and they defer. Take the ball, drive the ball down the field and take the lead and put the Browns on their back heels like, oh my gosh, we can't beat this team. Instead of deferring and let the Browns score first and then they think they can win. Don't let them think they can do that. And I do think the Bills have one benefit. I don't think their offensive line is going to want to let Garrett break the record against them. So I'm hoping that'll be enough motivation to really let's take care of business here and let's not mess around so that we got to come back in the fourth quarter to win.
I'll be honest too, Greg, being an Eagles fan, Nick Sirianni always defers. And I think at home, being at the Link or at Highmark Stadium, that's okay to defer to the second half being at home. But I think being on the road, you need to get the ball first because you want to get an early lead on these teams, especially Cleveland. If the Bills can get up 7-0 on them early, the Cleveland fans will turn on them, in my opinion.
Right. No, and I think so too. And then if the defense shuts them down and all of a sudden it's 10-0 or 14-0, the game's probably over. Right.
Are you going to be at the game in Cleveland on Sunday?
No, I'm not. Too close to the holidays. I'm going to sit home. It is on TV here, so that's good.
By the way, 2 out of the 5 Patriots' biggest collapses have been against your Buffalo Bills. Obviously, last Sunday at Gillette Stadium, and then September 2011 at Highmark Stadium. Bills and Patriots. So that's going to be one of your games too, highlighted in your book. And Greg, I want to say congratulations to you and Bud Bailey for your latest book, One Bills Drive, the Buffalo Bills greatest home games from 73 to 2025. And as we were talking off air, my first Buffalo Bills game was September 21st, 1997, a Sunday, 4:05 kickoff game on NBC, Bills and Colts against Jim Harbaugh and the Colts. And 26-0 Colts in that first half. And my late brother-in-law is like, at halftime, we want to go home. And I'm like, let's stick it out. And Todd Collins, for God's sake, Todd Collins and Antoine Smith and the Bills team, which was kind of in a transition from Jim Kelly retiring, came back and won that game. I think 38-37 or something like that.
37-35. Yeah.
37-35. Unbelievable. Thoughts? Were you at that game, Greg?
I was absolutely at that game. And yeah, we fell behind 26-0 and then came from behind. Antoine Smith had a big game. He had a 50-some yard run that put him ahead. And the Colts, what a lot of people forget is the Bills actually had taken the lead. And then the Colts scored a touchdown late and went for 2 points and failed. Otherwise, the game would have gone to overtime.
Yeah, and Todd Collins was supposed to be the next Jim Kelly. Obviously, yeah. Todd Collins was drafted out of Michigan, but he just never panned out. And that was Marvin Levy's last year as head coach of the Buffalo Bills, I believe, at the 97 season.
Yes. But I mean, think of a great trivia question. The greatest regular season comeback in Bills history. Who was the quarterback?
Todd Collins. And that was my first Bills game at I guess, what did they call it at that time? It wasn't Rich Stadium. Was what?
I think Bills it was Ralph Wilson Stadium at the time.
Ralph Wilson Stadium, yeah. Yep. So that was an amazing comeback, and doing it against the Colts, Marshall Faulk, Marvin Harrison, Jim Harbaugh, and the Bills did it without Jim Kelly, and it was just amazing to be part of it. The greatest comeback. The Buffalo Bills have had some of the biggest comebacks in NFL history, Greg, and just thoughts on your book with Bud Bailey, and how did you guys decide to come about this book?
Yeah, so actually the book came about, I first conceived of the book in 2020 during the pandemic, because we were a couple years away from the 50th anniversary of the stadium. So I originally wanted to write a book about the 50th anniversary. And so I reached out to Bud, and he was like, the 50th anniversary, the stadium's going to close a few years after that. We should wait. So he convinced me to wait. But what we did back in 2021, I reached out to, I'm a member of this organization called the Pro Football Researchers Association, which is a bunch of football historians across the country. And we have a Western New York chapter. And I asked all of the chapter members, what are the 25 greatest games in Highmark Stadium history? And they all sent me stuff, and I calculated it all, and then I set it aside and then didn't do anything with it. And then in January, I reached out to Bud, January of this year, and said, hey, we should write a book about the Bills Stadium, the 50 greatest games. And he was immediately like, oh yeah, that would be great. Our original idea was that we would publish it so that it would come out next year. After the stadium closed, we'd have the top 50 games of all time. So we reached out to a publisher, Reedy Publishing, which actually did my book in 2023, the Bills Timeline book. And he was lukewarm about the idea at first. And then like 2 weeks later, he called me back and said, Greg, can you guys publish it this year? Because he said, I think everybody's going to be emotional about the games they're going to this year. Next year, they're going to be thinking about the new stadium, not about the old stadium. So anyway, to make a long story short, we agreed. We had to finish the manuscript in 4 weeks to get it to them by basically right after Labor Day. The interesting part is Bud and I had been writing game stories since January. So we had written 86 game stories. So we had to cut it down to 50. And then we had to get it to the publisher in early September. The interesting part is we each decided to rank the 50, our top 50. When we compared them, we agreed on 47 of the 50, not in the same order, but of the top 50, 47 games we agreed on. So it was really easy to get to the top 50. And so we were able to get to the top 50 pretty quickly, which we weren't sure that would be the case.
Which three games were the most trickiest to agree upon?
Well, the funny thing is the number one game, we did not agree on the number one game in Bills history at the stadium. Bud was very much the number one game was the greatest comeback. And he kind of looked at it from a journalistic point of view. Exciting game, great comeback, da, 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 da. I looked at it more from a fan perspective. And to me, the greatest game was the 51-3 AFC Championship game against the Raiders. Because as a fan, at halftime, we were ahead 41-3. We knew we were going to our first ever Super Bowl. And it was funny. So we debated it for a couple of days. And then Bud suggested, why don't we ask Reedy what they think the best game is of the two? So we reached out to the publisher and he came back and he sided with Bud. And so it became the greatest comeback as number one and the Raiders game is number two.
Well, Greg, I would agree with you. The comeback game would be number two in my opinion, but that game against the Raiders, that's the first time Buffalo went to a Super Bowl, and that was dominating. The Bills were favored to win that game, the AFC Championship game, but nobody thought they were going to win 51-3, and I'm sure the players didn't either. So, to me, that the AFC title game, I would give them that would be number one because the first time to a Super Bowl is always special. And that, to me, that should be number one. The comeback game should be number two, in my opinion.
I agree with you, but I got outvoted. And hey, I love the comeback game too. I mean, it's a fabulous game, but as a fan, like you said, going to the first Super Bowl and we won at home. And the second half was nothing but a party in the stands. Like we were all just like so thrilled and happy and celebratory. That one's and the Raiders were that, they were that like distinctive team that just win baby and Al Davis and the whole 9 yards, the whole mystique of that franchise and to do what we did to them. And I would argue today, the franchise has never been the same since.
No, I totally agree with you. And by the way, being an Eagles fan, if they ever do a book about the Eagles' greatest home games, to me, as an Eagles fan and being freelance media, I would say the 1980 NFC Championship game, because that was the first time the Philadelphia Eagles ever went to a Super Bowl 15 against the same Raiders, where they got blown out, but they also beat their longtime hated rival Dallas Cowboys. And that's when I became an Eagles fan, was that 1980 NFC Championship game. So to me, that game at the Veterans Stadium, to me, should be the greatest Eagles home game, because that was the first time the city ever went to a Super Bowl, and that was beating the hated Dallas Cowboys, just like the Bills beating the Raiders. That was special, and that was just a unique time. And to be honest, I thought the Super Bowl 25 was going to be a piece of cake for the Bills. Like, hey, they just destroyed the Raiders 51-3. What are the New York Giants going to do, who aren't nearly as good as the Raiders, in my opinion?
Yeah, no, I think I'm afraid the Bills thought the same thing. But hey, to come back to your Eagles game though, and of course that Eagles win was quarterbacked by a kid from Lackawanna,
Ron Jaworski. Yeah, I think was he Lackawanna or Tonawanda? I get him mixed up.
I think it was Lackawanna. Yeah.
Lackawanna, yeah. So Jaws, they call him. And to me, he's one of the greatest Eagles quarterbacks of all time, too. In the top five.
Right, for sure.
So, but as for the Bills, 47 out of 50 games, that's pretty good. And how satisfying was it seeing the book published, and how's the reviews been of the book so far from Bills Mafia?
Yeah, no, it was really satisfying. I mean, Reedy did a wonderful job in that, like, each of the game stories. So we write a game story about each of the 50 games. The game stories are around 1,000 words, 1,100 words. But each game also has an action photo from that particular game that goes with the story. And then we intermingle ticket stubs from the games as well as programs from the games. So the book is really beautifully illustrated between the photos and the programs and tickets. So it really brings the games to life. So, and then, the feedback we've gotten from, Bills Mafia and the readers has been extremely positive because I think it's so well illustrated.
You were mentioning ticket stubs. Whose ticket stubs did you use? And by the way, I miss ticket stubs. Everything's all digital nowadays. And how hard was it getting access to the photos and stuff like that to use in the book?
Yeah, so the ticket stubs and programs were easy because they came from my personal collection.
Okay.
Um, that actually now sits at the Buffalo History Museum. I donated it a few years ago, but so those were very easy to get. The photos, luckily, I have a very good relationship with Robert Smith's nephew. So Robert Smith was the Bills' original photographer from 1960 to 1996. And actually, I think he still took photos up through 2001. So I was able to get almost all the photos from the games from 1973 to 2001 from the Robert Smith collection. And then Reedy has a relationship with Getty Images. And Getty has a great, basically, photo collection from about 2000 on. So I was able to get all the games after 2001. I was able to get images from Getty. So it was easier than it would normally be because I really had two sources I was able to get almost everything from.
How big was your Bills collection, Greg, in terms of memorabilia items?
Yeah, so I actually had the largest Buffalo Bills football memorabilia collection in the world. It was 108,000 artifacts.
Wow.
That's about 8,000 three-dimensional objects like helmets, jerseys, bobblehead dolls, glasses, mugs, pennants, all kinds of stuff like that. And then about 100,000 paper objects, which basically is every program from every Bills game played, ticket stubs from all the games, football cards all the way back to 1960, all kinds of newspaper articles, magazine articles about the team, books, et cetera. So yeah, just the most comprehensive collection, in existence as far as the Buffalo Bills. And in fact, the appraiser that came to appraise the collection when I first decided to donate it, and she's world renowned as a sports person. She said it's the largest single team collection she had ever seen.
Wow, that's amazing. And you're also a 40-year season ticket holder of the Bills too?
Yes, 40-year season ticket holder. So I've been to. I haven't missed too many home games in that time. Let's put it that way.
Could you give us a guess of how many you've missed in 40 years? Maybe a handful, if that?
Yeah, it's been basically a handful, and almost all of them have been related to my mom had cancer surgery, my wife had pneumonia, things like that. Otherwise, I don't miss. If I miss, my season ticket teammates and everybody around me says, "What happened to Greg? He must have died or something," because he doesn't miss.
Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot with this question. What was your most unique Buffalo Bills memorabilia you collected out of the 108,000 pieces?
So probably the most unique. You remember Jack Kemp, who was the Bills quarterback when they won the AFL championships in 64 and 65. In 1996, he was the vice presidential running mate for Bob Dole running for U.S. president. During the campaign, he was guarded by the Secret Service on the campaign stops. And the Secret Service wore lapel pins that were standing buffalo helmets. And there are two different versions of the lapel pins. And I got each of those lapel pins from a Secret Service agent that guarded Kemp during the campaign.
Wow.
And it's the standing buffalo helmet, and then right next to it, it has the Secret Service logo on it. It's very cool.
Amazing. That's amazing. And you went to games at War Memorial Stadium, right on Jefferson Avenue too?
Yeah.
The Rock Pile. Did you have any items from that stadium too that you collected?
Oh yeah, I have original stadium seats from the stadium. I have programs from all the games that were played there. So yeah, I have game used jerseys from players that played there. So yeah, I have quite a bit of War Memorial Stadium related memorabilia for sure.
What are your thoughts of Highmark Stadium being demolished in a couple years? And do you have any plans to get your seat from the stadium or some other artifacts as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm very mixed. I really didn't want them to build a new stadium. I wanted them to retrofit the current stadium, kind of like what Kansas City did. They retrofitted Arrowhead. I was hoping they would retrofit the current stadium for a couple of reasons. One, I've been in a lot of NFL stadiums, and we have the best sight lines of any stadium in the entire league, just because of the way the stadium's designed. And there's no way the new stadium can have better sight lines. I've spent my life there. My first game, I was 16 years old when the stadium opened. And my first game was actually October 14th, 1973. They played the Colts. And OJ had 166 yards rushing. He broke a 78-yard run. And the Bills won 31-13. And of course, at the time, OJ was my favorite player. But anyway, I just really didn't want the stadium to go away. It'll be a very emotional day for me. In a couple of weeks when the stadium is, they play their last game there. But, hey, the new stadium, will certainly be, nicer and have more amenities and, wider aisles and all that good stuff. But, there's something to the history of the current stadium that I was hoping we'd win a Super Bowl in that current stadium, somehow. But I'll be excited about the new one for sure. I mean, and hey, the great thing about the new one is the Bills aren't going anywhere in my lifetime, which is great.
Which is kind of nice too, because I know before Jim Kelly became a Bill in 1986, there was talk of the franchise moving. And then I think 97, 98, Doug Flutie came where there was talk about the moving as well. So now you never have to worry about the franchise moving again. Gotta ask you this too, Bud. Or sorry, Greg. I got Bud on my mind, by the way, Bud Bailey. But gotta ask you this, Greg. In your opinion, who are the top 5 players in that stadium? And did you and Bud think about doing top 5 weather games at Highmark Stadium? Because there has been some unique weather games there where I went where garbage cans, portable washrooms were flying around. I think it was 2008. Patriots and Bills, the winds must have been about 65 kilometers an hour, and the goalposts, they had to tie them down.
Yes. Oh yeah. No. We didn't do the worst weather games, but maybe that's another book, the worst weather games and the top players or something. But the worst weather games, clearly the Colts game from 2017, when the Bills won in overtime on LaShawn McCoy's 20-yard touchdown run, when the Colts were all dressed in white and you couldn't even literally couldn't see across the field. That definitely has to be among the worst weather games. Certainly the game you talk about with the wind. There was also a game in 1974 with the wind where the Bills are the only team in NFL history in the modern era to win a game without completing a pass. And that was that game in 1974. Joe Ferguson was 0 for 2. Joe Namath was 2 for 18 with 3 interceptions.
Oh my
God. And that was like, it was like a 60-mile-an-hour wind and rain. And I mean, it was like a terrible day. And then of course there's the divisional playoff game against the Raiders when the wind chill was 33 below zero. So those are 4, like off the top of my head. As far as the greatest players at the stadium, they're going to probably pretty much line up with who you would think are the greatest players in Bills history. Bruce Smith for sure is near the top of that list. OJ Simpson is at the top of that list. Of all the Bills players, they're the only 2 that are really top of their position groups. Bruce is definitely one of the top 2 or 3 defensive ends of all time. And OJ is without question one of the top 2 or 3 running backs to ever play. So they're kind of by themselves. And then you get past that, certainly Jim Kelly. I mean, he obviously saved the franchise, transformed the franchise, was a great quarterback. Josh is certainly living up to that as a great quarterback. they're probably the top four. Then you got, Thurman. He's right there. He's obviously a Hall of Famer and has some amazing games at the stadium. They're probably the top five in my, right off the top of my head on my perspective.
Now, did you break down some of the games based on decades, like a certain amount from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s?
We didn't do that intentionally.
Okay.
We just kind of said, what are the best games? It's interesting, though, the way it turned out. During the drought years, I think we have 3 games from those years, right? So it kind of, and in the 90s, we have a bunch of games especially from 90 to 93, as you would expect, right? But one of the things we did do, though, and nobody's really criticized us for it, we included losses. So this isn't just the 50 greatest Bills victories. We included great games that the Bills lost. You might remember the game a few years ago against the Vikings, the 33-30 game in overtime, when Justin Jefferson made that insane catch. That was a great game. I mean, the Bills lost, but it was a fabulous game. So, we included games like that. We included one of the Miami games during the 20-loss, losing streak. So we included, I think it was like 6 or 7 losses among the 50 games.
I know to me, the worst loss I ever saw the Bills lose at that stadium was 2007. The Patriots won 56-10, and it probably could have been worse than that with Brady and Belichick running the score up on the Bills. I think J.P. Losman was the quarterback of the Bills in that team.
Yes. Well, and what was so bad about that loss is we actually thought we had a playoff team. We were playing pretty well up to
start
that
the season. Yes. Yeah.
And I think if I remember, wasn't that like a Monday night game or a Sunday night game? It was
Sunday night game.
They flexed it to Sunday night,
right?
Because we were playing good. And then it was like, we weren't even in the same league. I remember that one. But the worst loss, I think, actually at the stadium was the Cowboys' loss on Monday night.
To Tony Romo.
Yes. And we had, I don't know, like an 11-point or 12-point lead late in the game. And they ended up, kicking an onside kick, getting the ball, and then kicking like a 55-yard field goal to win the game. That was the worst loss. One, because I hate the Cowboys.
Hey, so do I. We have something in common. We both despise the Dallas Cowboys. That was 2008, believe, on Monday Night Football.
Yes. I think that's the worst loss in the history of the stadium. But that 56-10 one was just, that's not in the book though, because it wasn't a good game at all.
No. And one of the other games I went to there was the Browns and Bills. I think it was 07 it was a day game. It was a 1:00 game between the Bills and Browns. It was very windy. And I don't know if it was Trent Edwards or J.P. Losman. The Browns won that game 6-3. And there was people leaving at halftime, even though it was a close game. It was just both teams were bad that day. It was a Sunday afternoon game, I remember.
Yeah, that and oh, by the way, we lost on a fumbled punt return. That's how they got their second field goal. And that was Anderson was the quarterback for the Browns. And I think he was 2 for 17 and they won. But, the worst game, though, that didn't make the book. But the worst game, I think actually the worst game in modern NFL history did make the book. And that was the game against the Giants, the replacement game.
87.
In 87, the year of the strike. And the Bills won in overtime 6-3. And that was at halftime, Will Grant, who had come back to play for the Bills after having been retired. The Bills brought him in because Marv Levy heard that Lawrence Taylor had crossed the picket line and was going to play. And he was like, oh my God, our quarterback will get killed. So they signed Will Grant. And at halftime, Grant comes off the field and Levy's chastising him because he had like 5 holding penalties in the first half. And he's yelling at him in front of the rest of the team. And Grant goes, I don't think that's too bad. I'm holding on every play.
Hopefully we never see replacement or scab players again, because I remember them in 82 and 87. So hopefully that never happens again. Hey, to me, one of the greatest Bills games was I know it wasn't a great game score wise, but winning their first AFC East title since 1980 when they beat the Jets, I think 6-3, and the goalpost game at Ralph Wilson and at Rich Stadium where the fans went crazy. They stormed to swear. That to me has got to be in the top 5 home games at Highmark Stadium. The Jets winning the Bills winning the AFC East in 88.
Yeah. So it's actually not in the top 5.
Okay.
But I was part of the crew that stormed the field.
Wow.
And in the collection, I have a piece of the goalpost and a piece of the net that the winning field goal went into.
You'll never see that again in sports nowadays. If you see one person on the field, they'd be arrested. That was I couldn't believe that. That was insane.
Oh yeah. And it was just everybody, it was just simultaneous, right? It just happened, right? I mean, nobody thought about it. It was just when the field goal went through, elation took over and everybody stormed the field. It was great.
One of my other favorite moments from Rich Stadium, I still call it Rich Stadium, was 1990, the Eagles and Bills. And I think the Bills won that game. They were the AFC champs, but Randall Cunningham was in the back of the end zone. Bruce Smith was going to sack him, and Cunningham somehow escaped Bruce Smith, threw the ball 60 yards downfield to Fred Burnett for like a 98, 99-yard touchdown. And I still remember Merle Reese making that call as well.
Oh, yeah. No, that was – well, in that game, the other thing that game was known for is that was the first game that the Bills went to the no huddle exclusively.
That was a game against the Eagles.
Yeah, and they jumped up 24-0. And then the Eagles came back and made it with that Cunningham play, and the Bills only ended up winning 30-23. But they were up 24-0 and basically scored the first 4 times they had the ball. The Eagles didn't know what happened. But then obviously came back and made a good game out of it. And that play has got to be one of the craziest plays in NFL history.
And the Eagles have not played that often at Highmark Stadium. I think maybe once in the set. I think maybe a handful of times. So this meeting on in a couple weeks, that's going to be huge too, because the Bills are fighting to win the AFC East and move up in the AFC standings, and the Eagles still want to clinch the NFC East and also try to get that number 2 seed as well. So Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, I'm really looking forward to that matchup in a couple weeks, and they're both great quarterbacks. Let's face it, they're both great quarterbacks. And that game is going to be special too. But the Bills need to take care of business against Cleveland Sunday, and the Eagles have to take care of a bad Washington team too. So playing teams that are struggling and under 500 always concerns me because of a trap game.
Yeah, well, and those teams have not, especially when you're playing rivalry games, right? Like especially for the Eagles. I mean, the Commanders is a rivalry game, right?
Yeah.
And the Commanders are going to get up for it. Like they got nothing to play for, right? So they're going to play hard because it'll make their season if they can wreck the Eagles, right?
In your opinion, Greg, what made Ralph Wilson Stadium, Rich Stadium, Highmark Stadium, besides the sightlines, so special and so difficult for visiting teams to win there?
Well, I think there's 2 things that make it special. I think the specialness comes from, if you go back to 1971 and 70, and there was a lot of speculation that the Bills were going to move and they were going to lose their NFL team that they really had just gotten, because the Bills didn't become an NFL team until 1970. And as part of the merger agreement, every team had to have a stadium that had at least 50,000 capacity. And of course, War Memorial didn't have that, and nobody thought they should spend money to make it that. And so when the stadium was built and it opened, it was like, our team's here, it's going to stay here. And so it was just like, oh my God, we're going to stay here. And then when you went into it at the time, it was considered state of the art. So, I mean, we had one of the nicest stadiums in the league in 1973. And oh, by the way, we had the second smallest market in the largest stadium from a seating capacity, because it held over 80,000 people at the time. So, that really made it special. And then, of course, when we moved to the stadium, like when we were at War Memorial, there wasn't a big tailgate scene. tailgating really came with the new stadium, because you have these big, expansive parking lots. You got 80,000 people trying to get there on back roads. And so people came early, and the whole tailgate scene began. And what you know of Bills fans now, I mean, we're the greatest tailgaters in professional sports. And that all came about when Rich Stadium opened in 1973. And then, you know, because of the sightlines and the closeness of the fans to the field, like you can't even play a professional soccer game inside our stadium because it's not big enough, the field. So we're really close to the field, which of course is extremely intimidating for the opponent, right? And it makes the atmosphere just terrific.
Do you remember the first Monday Night Football game at Rich Stadium? And the first playoff game didn't take place until 1988 against Warren Moon and those Houston Oilers.
Yeah, it was January 1st, 1989. It was New Year's
89.
Day. But it was at the end of the 88 season, but it was New Year's Day in 1989. Yeah. We won 17-10. But yeah, the first Monday night game was the Chiefs game in 1973. And it was the 7th game of the year. And OJ went over 1,000 yards after 7 games. And nobody thought anybody could rush for 2,000 yards in 14 games.
That's amazing.
That was considered a record that could not be broken. And when he went over 1,000 halfway through, it was like, whoa, maybe he actually can do that. And of course, he ultimately did. But yeah, I remember because they flashed on the scoreboard that he went over 1,000 yards. And that was on a Monday night.
You and Bud could write a book about some of the greatest individual game performances at that stadium as well.
Oh, we could. Yeah. Yeah. No, when we first conceived of the book, we actually wanted to include more than we did. We wanted to do the 50 games, but then we also wanted to include like all the statistical anomalies, like what's the greatest, you know, rushing game, receiving game, passing game, all that. And we actually prepared all that. And that all got, you know, we ended up, you know, cutting it out because the publisher wanted it to be a certain size, you know, which we were obviously fine with. But yeah, we had actually planned on doing some of that inside this book. So yeah, maybe it gives us another book to write.
Is there any chance that you guys are going to do an update on this book too? Because the Bills could probably host another playoff game there too. I know you got the Eagles and Jets, but also maybe another playoff game or two there at Highmark Stadium.
Yeah, I don't think we'll do one, but you know, we'll see what the publisher thinks, because the interesting part is the Ravens game, the opening game of the season, is we only mention it in the book. We don't actually write the story because our manuscript went to the publisher the day after the Ravens game. And I called the publisher and go, what are we going to do? This is like one of the top 5 games in the stadium's history. And for a whole bunch of reasons, we really couldn't include it other than we basically mention it in the introduction. But, you know, like if we had to do the book over again right now, we'd include that game, and we'd include the Cincinnati game, the 39-34 game. You know, both of those games would be included, and maybe the Eagles game in 2 weeks would be included. Right?
I expect that game to be like what it was 2 years ago at the Link, where the Eagles won in overtime. I think it was 36-33 in overtime. It was just back and forth. And the Eagles had the ball at the end, and Jalen Hurts got the touchdown instead of the field goal. But Gabe Davis had a game-winning touchdown that he dropped, and then they had to settle for the Bass field goal, and then Hurts had the 15-yard run at the end. So I really do feel you guys are going to have one more great regular season game there with the Eagles. Now, as for the Jets, I don't think the Jets are going to be much competition for you guys.
Hopefully that's just a celebratory victory.
Absolutely.
But I will tell you, if they play on Sunday, it will be the first game the Bills have played at home in the team's history on my birthday.
On your birthday?
Yeah, January 4th is my birthday. They've played a bunch of games on January 3rd, but never on the 4th at home. They played one game away on my birthday, but never at home. So it would be kind of ironic to close the stadium on my birthday.
And hopefully with a win. Now I got to ask you this, Greg. You're going to be at the game, obviously. What kind of ceremonies and what are they doing for that last regular season home game in that stadium's history?
They haven't said. They've been very quiet about, like one of my friends suggested he hopes they bring some of the Jets players back because, of course, we opened with the Jets. Not in the preseason, but the first regular season game played at the stadium was against the Jets. And it was with Joe Namath and Emerson Boozer and Matt Snell and like all those guys. It's like, well, why don't they bring some of the Jets players up too to celebrate, which would be very cool. Imagine if Joe Namath shows up on January 4th. That would be pretty cool.
Any chance the fans could do what they did in Cleveland when the Browns were leaving Cleveland? Obviously, their last game there, they were stealing stuff left, right, and center from Municipal Stadium. Do you think they'll have extra security on for this game against the Jets?
I think they will. The other thing the Bills have done preemptively, and you mentioned it earlier, is they've offered to sell seats to the season ticket holders. So I've been offered to buy my seats, which I've bought, and I'll get them in the spring. But they sent out an email, this was probably a month ago now, where they offered us to buy our seats. So I think they're trying to get ahead of that. Like, hey, if you really want stuff, you're going to be able to get it, and you don't have to, tear the stadium apart to get it. Because there could be a possibility that even if the Bills are a wild card, they could still host a playoff game. Because if they're the number one wild card and the wild cards below them win, the Bills could ultimately still get the AFC Championship game at home. I mean, it's a long shot, but so I would imagine they'll have an immense amount of security.
And when I think of that stadium too, I think of the late Van Miller and John Murphy, who I'm hoping has recovered from his stroke. And I hope they named the new broadcasting booth at the new stadium for Van Miller, because to me, when you think of the Buffalo Bills, I think of Van Miller and John Murphy on the air.
Oh, I mean, I can tell you, I'm not sure I'd be a Bills fan if it wasn't for Van Miller. I loved listening to Van Miller. He was the greatest.
So did I. WBN 930, and back then the radio signal wasn't as strong, so I had to listen to a lot of static and all that. But his voice, his passion, it's just like was Merle Reese of the Eagles. When you think of the Eagles, think of Merle Reese. The Buffalo Bills, Van Miller. So I'm hoping they do something to honor Van and John Murphy in the new stadium in the broadcasting booth as well.
Me too, because that art of being a great broadcaster where you describe the play, that's lost now because everything's streamed or it's TV. So as a broadcaster, you don't have to describe the play and make it like he painted a picture that you could envision being there and you're part of it. And they just don't have broadcasters like that anymore. And Van was one of the best.
The Bills-Oilers game, the comeback game, was blacked out where I live here in Ontario. So I had to listen to Van and John. Or I don't know if it was John Murphy back in '93, but I had to listen to Van Miller and the Bills radio network on the radio for that game because it was blacked out. And I heard stories of people leaving at halftime and then hopping the fence to get back into the stadium for the second half.
Right. Exactly. No, Van was one of my favorites. And I actually got to meet him and stuff, which was one of the highlights of my fandom as a Bills fan.
By the way, I did get to meet him. I think 21 years ago, 2004 in the Field House, and he was kind enough to let me have a picture with him. At the time, I wasn't in media radio, but it's just, hey, Van, you're a legend, and he's like, come on over, we'll get a selfie together. So that's something. Even though I'm an Eagles fan, that photo with Van Miller is something I'll cherish because he is a legend in the National Football League and meant so much to the city of Buffalo, not just with the Bills, but the Braves and the Buffalo Stallion. Any sport going on in Buffalo, Van would call it.
Right. Oh yeah, no, for sure. He was great. He was great for sure.
Greg, as we wrap the show up in a few minutes, what are some fun facts or a fun fact about Highmark Stadium that Bills Mafia might not know about?
Oh, geez. Fun fact. Gosh. I don't know if I know any off the top of my head, that they wouldn't know. One of the great things about the stadium is we won 3 AFC championships there. And the third one we won was the first time and only time still that anyone's won 4 consecutive conference championships. That was the 1990, at the end of the 93 season, we beat the Chiefs at home to go to our 4th straight Super Bowl and win a 4th conference championship that no other team, not the latest version of the Chiefs, not the Patriots, not the Lombardi Packers, no team won 4 in a row. And we did it we did 3 of the 4 at home, and the 4th one was at home, which I think is very cool. One of the other, so there is an interesting fun fact. So do you know what Jim Kelly's first game at Rich Stadium was?
I know it was 1986, it was September. I believe it was against the New York Jets. I believe.
And the answer is no. He played his first game at Rich Stadium in 1979 as a member of the Miami Hurricanes because Syracuse was building the Carrier Dome, and they played 2 regular season games at Highmark Stadium, and one of them was against Miami, and it was Kelly's first college game.
I had no idea, Greg, and that's why I love doing about this show. So 1979, Jim Kelly. So that was foreshadowing back then.
Right. And he was a freshman at Miami, and he came in. He didn't start the game. He came in I think the second half, and Syracuse ended up winning the game. But it was Kelly's first game as a college freshman, and he played it at Rich Stadium.
And Doug Flutie played, I think, a couple games with the Patriots at Rich Stadium too, before he became a Bill as well.
Oh yeah, and I have in the collection, I have an awesome picture of him being chased down by Fred Smerlas. And I got both of them to autograph it. It's very cool.
Greg, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Obviously, Josh Allen's up there, Jim Kelly, Doug Flutie, maybe even Drew Bledsoe. Would you put Bledsoe up there too, or his time in Buffalo wasn't long enough?
Yeah, he's probably, the 5th best quarterback in team history, 6th best. He didn't have the impact that, Kelly, Josh, or Flutie had on the franchise. But hey, when he came, it was a huge big deal. And he had a couple of good seasons. I think the Bills got rid of him a year too soon. JP Lossman wasn't ready. I wish they had kept him for at least one more year. And maybe they wouldn't have had the playoff drought as long as they did if they had kept him.
And what are your thoughts on Joe Ferguson, the original number 12 in the Bills?
I loved Fergie. If he doesn't get hurt in 1980 with a sprained ankle, we might have won the Super Bowl then. Because, the Raiders won the Super Bowl. We beat them 24-7 at home earlier in the season. Look, we were leading the Chargers the whole game, and Ferguson was playing on one leg. I like Joe. I think he got more criticism than he deserved. In 80-81, he was a very good quarterback for the team. And
I'm hoping one day the Bills and Eagles will meet in a Super Bowl, because both cities love their football. They love their teams. And I just think a Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen Super Bowl would be exciting for both teams.
Let's hope it's this February.
Fingers crossed, one game at a time. And hey, Greg, as we wrap this up, what will you and Bills Mafia miss the most about Highmark Stadium?
It's all the memories of being there since I was 16 years old, 40 years as a season ticket holder, all the highs, all the lows. It's just all the different experiences with friends, family, and just the intimacy of the stadium. I'll miss a lot for sure.
And this is a new segment as we wrap this up, Greg. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question for me to put me on the hot seat?
Oh, well, so what will you remember about the stadium?
I would say the tailgating, the wind conditions, the snow, the rain, the portable washrooms blowing apart, the goalposts being tear apart. I would say the fan base. I would say the fans, the tailgating, the atmosphere, and obviously my first game there was the 26-point comeback against the Indianapolis Colts. So I'd just say the atmosphere, the environment, and the fan base, how much this team means to Buffalo, Western New York, and Southern Ontario as well.
Yeah, I mean, the experience is the best there is. I mean, maybe Lambeau Field's close, maybe Philly's close, but man, I'll tell you, we got an unbelievable fan experience at the games.
Agreed. And Greg, as we wrap this up, where can our audience follow you on social media, and how can they purchase the book One Bills Drive, the Buffalo Bills' greatest home games from 1973 to 2025? And have you been doing a lot of radio and media interviews for this book as well with Bud?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, so you can follow me there. The One Bills Drive book is available, at all the local bookstores in Buffalo, Barnes and Noble, all those. It's certainly available online through Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. So it's obviously readily available. So yeah, and I hope you buy it. I think it's a really good book. We've gotten lots of great feedback about the book, and it'll definitely bring back lots of memories for people, and that's what we hoped it would do, and it's definitely doing that.
Have you and Bud done a lot of book signing for this?
Yeah,
book?
we did about 6. I think it was 6 in Western New York over the last, like 5 or 6 weeks, because the book basically came out the first week of November. And so, yeah, we've done about a half dozen. We've done between the two of us, I think 6 or 7, maybe 8, like interviews, like this. So yeah, I mean, we've been out there pretty good. It's gotten good publicity, and we think obviously it's a great Christmas gift. But it's fun. And we just really wanted people to be able to share their memories. And I think it's definitely doing that.
And when you do a co-author of a book, how important is it to work alongside Bud Bailey, who's been in Buffalo for 50 years?
Yeah. No, it's Bud's been great to work with. This is the 3rd book we've done together. We, I think, complement each other really well. What he's really good at maybe aren't my strengths, and vice versa. And I think we just get along really well, and are able to, kind of go back and forth without, I don't think we've ever argued, in a bad way. Most of our debates are interesting sports debates, which are fun. So he's been great to work with. And as you know, I mean, he's a true pro, and he's great. He's a great writer, and, really great at what he does.
Great sense of humor. He can be sarcastic, but great sense of humor. And when I started covering the Bandits, he was talking to me. I could approach him, ask him questions about lacrosse, because he loves lacrosse too, and just pick his brain for stuff too. So I miss seeing Bud, and hopefully one day I will be back to see him at a Bandits game or a Bison's. Any sporting event going on in Buffalo, Bud Bailey will be there.
Most likely, for sure.
So, hey, Greg, I got to let you go, but I want to say thank you so much for giving us over an hour of your time today to talk about your Buffalo Bills and your latest book. And is your book available digital copies too, besides the hard copies?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's only printed copies.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to look at getting this book for Christmas, because even though I'm an Eagles fan, I like history stuff, and I guess I could talk to you about hours and hours, and you guys could write another couple of books about the stadium and stuff like that. The strangest events there too as well.
Oh yeah. No, we definitely could do some more. For sure.
And quickly, quick thoughts and prediction on the Bills Browns on Sunday, and maybe thoughts on the Eagles coming into town in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it'll be 31-14 on Sunday. I think we'll take care of business against the Browns. I think the Eagles game will be a really good one. Like you said, I think it'll be like 38-35, and probably whoever has the ball last will win.
Absolutely, Greg. And hey, Christmas, we got 3 NFL games too. So I'm looking forward to good Christmas food and watching some NFL football. So
Oh
really
yeah.
looking forward to it. Greg, hey, continued success. And I definitely will check out your book. I've always liked Bud's work and your work. And I want to say thank you for coming on. And I want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and would love to have you come back on again in the future. And maybe, who knows, maybe an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl at some point.
That
I
would be
think could
awesome.
happen.
Hey,
Definitely. Well,
Chris,
say
thanks so much for having me. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thanks.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Greg, and hopefully I'll be in touch with Bud too, because Bud's is somebody I look up to, and I have a lot of respect for him as well. Thank you so much, Greg, and I'll say this as an Eagles fan: Go Bills, go Birds.
Go for it. Go Bills.
All right, thanks, Greg. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
All right, everyone, that wraps up season 12, episode 31, overall 636 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme, and brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. And speaking of Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, you know winter's here, the cold temps are here. Well, right now at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership is your goal to service center this winter. A no charge, that's right, no charge 12-volt battery test plus a $20 instant rebate given to you, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. So with winter being here, the cold, the snow temperatures, that can affect your battery as well. Go to Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealerships again for a no charge free 12-volt battery charge test, plus get a $20 instant rebate. Again, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall, the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And as we wrap up this show, guys, I have another announcement to make as well. And that is my next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by BarryCullen.com, is going to be on Wednesday, December 24th. Wednesday, December 24th at 10 a.m. Eastern with my special guest, Marissa Wong. She is a visionary entrepreneur, speaker, and author, and a TEDx speaker as well. So Melissa Wong will come on and talk about being a professional public speaker and a TEDx speaker as well. Wednesday, December 24th. At 10 a.m. And the next Small Talk podcast with Marlene Sharp and yours truly, Santa Chris, is going to be on Monday, December 22nd at 8 p.m. Monday, December 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 on the West Coast. We're going to have special guests from Spectrum Laboratories, some autism actors and actresses on our show, and some guys from Spectrum Lab. So our Christmas and season final will be on Monday, this Monday at 8 p.m., 5 on the West Coast as well. And I am working on more shows for after Christmas and the New Year's as well. And I'm hoping to have a Buffalo media personality on my show next Friday to preview the Eagles and Bills upcoming game on Sunday, December 28th at 4:25 at Highmark Stadium. And this will be the last time the Eagles will come to the original Highmark Stadium, as the Eagles haven't been in Buffalo or Orchard Park, I think, since 2019. And I was at that game where Carson Wentz got the win over a rookie young Josh Allen as well. So the Eagles and Bills don't play that often. And I'm not sure how many meetings this is, but this will be their last meeting in Orchard Park at that stadium until the Eagles come back to Buffalo, I think in another 4 or 5 years, to the new stadium as well. I forgot to ask Greg what his thoughts were on the new stadium having grass instead of that turf as well. So, but we'll hopefully have Greg back on, Greg Tranter again in the future. Please check out his book. Consider buying it. Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, or any of the online bookstores. One Bills Drive, the 50 of the greatest Bills home games at Highmark Stadium. And the Bills are leaving that stadium to go across the street in 2026 to the new Highmark Stadium, which will be a little bit more modernized and a lot smaller, with only 60,000 seats compared to the 70 at the current stadium as well. So looking forward to that. Bills and Browns this Sunday at 1 o'clock, and the Eagles are back in action on Saturday, tomorrow, Saturday, December 20th, 5 o'clock Eagles Commanders from FedEx. I think it's FedEx Stadium in Washington. They've named that stadium so many times, but if the Eagles can win that game against Washington, they will clinch the NFC East for the first time back-to-back in 20 years. The last NFC East back-to-back repeat winner was 20 years ago, I believe, 2004. So the Eagles just need one win to clinch that game and the title against the Commanders. And if the Eagles win against Washington, that would eliminate Dallas from the playoffs as well. So there's a lot of reasons for the Eagles to win that game tomorrow. And Washington comes into this game banged up, and the Eagles will be without big Jalen Carter will not be in this game, and Lane Johnson won't be playing as well as either. And it'll be interesting to see how Hurts is doing, as he hurt his ankle last week against the Raiders, and they did take him out of that game in the fourth quarter. So hopefully the Eagles can take care of business against the Commanders. And again, guys, I want to say thank you to Greg Tranter for coming on here today. Again, a Buffalo sports historian, a curator, and the co-author of One Bills Drive. If you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills or even the National Football League, consider purchasing his book along with Bud Bailey, who did a great job on this book as well. One Bills Drive, and a lot of great memories there as well. So I think that'll be my Christmas gift to myself as well. And again, you guys can follow Greg on all these social media platforms. Greg is on Facebook and he's on LinkedIn as well. And I believe he's on Instagram, but Facebook and LinkedIn might be your best bets to follow Greg as well. And with Christmas coming up, guys, why not give yourself a gift from CDP? How about booking a personalized video message from yours truly? Go to cameo.com, type in Chris Palme. I do happy birthdays, happy anniversaries, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah. Or if you want to ask me about some of my favorite interviews and guests, and also my media work as well, or talk to me about my radio show as well. So book a video from cameo.com. I look forward to doing your request now. You can also follow me on Blue Sky Social. Blue Sky Social is like what Twitter X used to be. At Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky Social. I do post a lot of content there as well. If you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society, located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals and pets that are up for adoption, their profiles are on cambridgehumanesociety.org, and they also have an Amazon wish list through their website. Please check that out as well. And they are still selling 2026 Cambridge Humane Society calendars for $10. You can purchase off their website as well. And if you have some dog food, cat food, pet food that you're not using, you would like to donate it to the Cambridge Humane Society's Pet Emergency Fund, please drop it off at the Humane Society there, located across from the Cambridge Centre Mall at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Michelle Gallatley and the staff do a wonderful job and looking after our homeless furry friends and making sure they're adopted into good homes with good families as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And I am working on getting this show live streamed on TikTok, so bear with me as well. And also, if you're watching this show and you're good at graphics and designs, I am looking for a professional individual who could assist me in creating a new opening video with a voiceover for this show as well, with non-copyrighted music. So I'm looking to kind of change things up with Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. So if you're somebody out there that is good at creating opening intro videos with voiceovers and non-copyright music, please email me at cpalme19@gmail.com or DM me on my social media pages as well. You can check out my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. That's beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme to check out my website. Again, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, again, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out barrycullen.com. And if you're looking for winter tires, What a better place to get them at than Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Check out Greg Smith, one of their service consultants there as well. He knows their products and their winter tires as well as anybody. You can follow this content creator at TikTok at Chris Palme. That's at Chris Palme on TikTok. I post a lot of content there, and I want to say thank you to I want to say thank you to my 1,400 plus followers there as well. So make sure you follow, share, and like my posts on TikTok. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or live streaming or podcasting, go to StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans like I do. Or if you're a business that does a lot of webinars, go to StreamYard.com and contact their sales department for pricing for businesses as well. And yours truly has been with StreamYard now for 5 years, and I give them a big thumbs up. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I want to say thank you to 70 countries around the world for listening to this show. And I have now reached over 10,000 listens and downloads on Spotify as well. So thank you so much. And if you're a business looking to advertise on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, you can email me at cpalme19@gmail.com or DM me directly on my social media pages, as this show is on 21 platforms, and I can help grow your business and advertise it through my live streaming platforms, which are both video and audio as well. So check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show if you're looking to advertise your business on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by Chris Palme. Finally, guys, you can email the show Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated as well. And if you'd like to support my YouTube channel and my talk show and my media content, you really like it, you guys can PayPal me. I'm on paypal.com, Chris Palme, cpalme19@gmail.com. If you'd like to support me through PayPal, or book a personalized video message from yours truly through cameo.com/Chris Palme. Finally, guys, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, X, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky Social, every social media site except Snapchat. And please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, Live with CDP Talk Show. Subscribe, like, and share as well. And that is about it for today's show, guys. I want to say thank you to my guest, Greg Tranter, for coming on today. He's a co-author of One Bills Drive, 50 of the most memorable games at Highmark Stadium, a book dedicated to the Buffalo Bills and their 53-year history at their current stadium, Highmark Stadium, which is set to close at the end of this year, and they'll be in their new stadium right across the street in 2026. So thank you to Greg Tranter for coming on, and I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live stream and on my audio platforms. And again, a big thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph as well. And I just want to wish everybody happy holiday season, and everyone have a happy holiday season and Merry Christmas. And I will be back on Monday at 8 o'clock with Marlene Sharp for the Small Talk Podcast, our Christmas holiday edition, along with our season final for 2025. So Monday, December 22nd, 8 p.m., Small Talk Podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself. We have a number of special guests as well. And then Wednesday, December 24th at 10 a.m., I have TEDx speaker Marissa Wong on here as well at 10 a.m. as well. And I am working on more shows for next week and the week after as well. I hope everybody has a great afternoon. Have a great afternoon, great weekend. Stay warm here in Southern Ontario. The cold temps and the snow are back as well. And again, the Bills take on the Browns this Sunday at 1 o'clock in Cleveland, and the Eagles take on the Washington Commanders tomorrow, 5 o'clock. And I will do a little Eagles pregame preview on my TikTok page as well. Eagles Commanders, 5 o'clock, huge game for the Birds as well. And last night the Pistons lost 116 to 114 to Dallas in overtime. The Pistons dropped to 21-6. Can't win them all. And the Red Wings are coming off a home loss to Utah. They should be back in action this week as well. And last night, Seattle beat the Rams 38-37. So Seattle is now the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the Rams drop as well. That was a great game too, by the way. And Sam Darnold proved me and a lot of critics wrong. He couldn't win the big games. Well, even though he threw 2 interceptions last night, he led them to the winning touchdown and the winning 2-point conversion as well. So Seattle Rams game last night was outstanding. 38-37 final for Seattle. So that is about it, guys. Again, thank you to Greg Tranter for coming on here. And please check out his book, One Bills Drive, 50 of the greatest Bills games, or 50 of the greatest moments at Highmark Stadium, alongside Bud Bailey as well. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will see you back here Monday night at 8 p.m. for the Small Talk Podcast with Marlene Sharp. As always, go Birds, fly Eagles, fly. And again, thank you for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph.